Welcome to the Virginia Tech College of Engineering information session. We're disappointed you cannot be with us on campus on this beautiful spring day in Blacksburg, but we're so glad you're able to join us virtually right now. Today I'll be moderating the Q&A session after the presentation. My name is Taylor Cupp. I am the assistant to the director of SEED, and SEED is the Center for the Enhancement of Engineering Diversity and is part of the College of Engineering. Our presenters are Jessica, a biological systems engineering major, and PJ, a construction engineering and management major. Also joining us are Ella, a biological systems engineering major, and Justin, a mechanical engineering major. Ella and Justin will join us after the presentation to help answer your questions.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Jessica McDaniel, like she said, and I'm a junior in biological systems. So a lot of people ask, what does it take to be an engineer? Well, it's more than just being good in math and science. First thing, it takes creativity. We need people who are creative and think of innovative ways to come up with new designs and things like that. Number two is teamwork. You need to know how to work in a variety of different teams, because for most of your engineering career, you're going to be working with different types of people. So it's really good to form those communication skills. And three is study habits. I wish it was the first one, because once you transition from high school to college, your study habits are going to have to change. Like most people, like myself in high school, I didn't really have to study that much. And then when I got to college, I'm like, wow, like I actually have to do work. So it's really important to start those study habits early. And so when you get to college, you won't be stuck wondering how to study and what to do. Number four is an interest in math and science. Engineering here, you're gonna take at least one or two classes in math and science or both per semester. So having an interest in that is very important as well. And then five, having a challenging high school background. So taking AP classes, honor classes, and extracurricular activities, also outside of STEM. So any other extracurricular activities that you do as well. And if your school doesn't offer a lot of AP classes, we're not admissions, but one thing that I have been told is that we don't look to compare you. So if someone else's school offers 10 AP classes versus your school offering 3, they're not going to put the other student as in more of an advantage as you. They'll weigh it out, and they basically see how hard and how you challenged yourself throughout your high school time.
Okay, now breaking it down into a numerical representation. So this is based upon the freshman engineering class of 2019. The average reported GPA was a 4.2 on a 5.0 scale. The average SAT broken down out of the 1600 scale was a 707 for the math and a 655 for the reading. And then breaking it down for the demographics, we have the females was 20.7%. And then the underrepresented minority and the underserviced is 29.4%. The average GPA and the SAT, we always like to go back and reiterate, that is by no means like the minimum that you have to get in order to get in. You know, you're still able to get into the College of Engineering, you know, with a 3.8 and a lower SAT score. We can't speak specifically on it, but if you guys do have any questions, you can always talk to admissions and they can fill you in on any more questions.
So for freshman year, for general engineering at Virginia Tech, no matter what degree you want to go for, everyone's going to start out on the same plate in general engineering. So they'll have the same common point entry classes. So if you take a picture of the QR code there, it'll show you all the classes. But basically, freshman year, your falls like English, Calc 1, chemistry, and the first year engineering class. Then in the spring, it's physics, the second part of the engineering class, the second part of English, and then Calc 2. So everyone starts out on the same plate. It's when you go to step 2, when you have AP and dual enrollment credits, that's when people's schedules may look a little different. So if you go to the TransGuide website here, you'll be able to see what type of scores you need to get on your AP exam in order for it to count as a credit. And same for dual enrollment if you take it at another college, university, or community college, to see if those credits will transfer over. If you don't see those credits on there, that doesn't mean that they won't transfer. It just means that no one's ever tried to transfer that credit from your university to Virginia Tech before. So you can definitely contact the registrar to see if your class would count as a credit. So number 3 is the pathways for general engineering curriculum. So these are just the other classes that we take outside of STEM. So they could be your music class or your other language class. And we have a certain amount of different classes that we have to fulfill. So you can pursue other classes of your interest outside of your major. And then for number 4, at the end of your freshman year is when you select what major you want to be in. You get 2 choices, your number 1 choice, and then a second choice of major. And so at the end of the year, if you get a 3.0, then you're guaranteed your first choice. And so how that works is, say if there's 300 people who want to go into mechanical engineering, but 400 people had the 3.0, then they'll expand the classrooms, hire more teachers in order to accommodate the higher number of students. And then the same goes vice versa. If there's 300 people and only 200 people have the 3.0, they'll start going down to 2.99, 2.98, and things like that until they fill up all the spots. And if you don't get the 3.0 your freshman year, that's okay. I didn't, so I just took a class over the summer and got my GPA up a little bit. And then I got in. You can always reapply. Some people don't get in the first time because maybe they didn't pass physics or they didn't pass calc the first time, so they have to take it over because you have to finish all your common point entry classes before you can declare a major. So there's different reasons why people may still be in general engineering, maybe their sophomore year, but it won't necessarily put you behind all that much.
Just to reiterate, so the Foundations of Engineering is going to be the first engineering course that you'll take at Virginia Tech. So this will actually be a year-long course between Engineering 1215, the first semester, and Engineering 1216, the second. So in that first class, what you're going to learn about is just like the engineering as a whole. So that's going to be broken down between like the design and teamwork, because you guys will be working on projects, learning how to work together and work in groups. And then what really helped me out a lot is you're going to learn about the different disciplines of engineering. So we'll go through that later. But you know, what does it mean to be a computer science major? What does it mean to be a mechanical engineer? So that's the one good thing about Virginia Tech is you're not kind of just pushed into your major right at first, and then you realize like, oh, this wasn't what I thought it was. It gives you that time to like develop and grow and make sure you really understand what you're getting into before you fully commit. You're going to learn about the algorithms and graphing. So you guys will be using various computer softwares, whether it's AutoCAD, MATLAB is what you guys will be using a lot in your freshman engineering courses. And that kind of just gives you like the stepping stones for you guys to moving on to like the bigger, heftier programs, you know, like AutoCAD, Civil 3D, you know, depending on your major, could be using different things. Problem solving and the future of engineering. So engineers, you know, you're always going to be problem solvers. What you guys will realize is nothing is really cut and dry anymore. It's not like high school. You guys will have to learn how to think more critically and then just try various things in order to get what you want. Because again, you know, the future of engineering, it's always right there, but it's not something that's easily grasped. You have to work hard for.
Okay, so this is the fall, so the last year's freshman undergraduate enrollment. Engineering education is the biggest one that you see at the top. That's just all the freshmen. And all the rest of the majors are how many students are in each major. And then if you divide it by 3, that's about how many students are in each class, for the exception of biomedical, because that is a brand new major that we offer.
All right, so now going down into the majors. So the first part of this is like the digital spectrum. So people always ask like, well, okay, well, what does electrical engineers do? It's kind of various, but you guys will be working with electrical systems, the electronics, and then just any electrical component on any like type of machine. Electrical engineers are always going to play a part. You'll be doing various things. You could have lab-based design projects. You could work in the power energy disciplines, communications. You know, it's a very diverse opportunity, which will help you every step of the way.
Okay, so next we have computer science, which is one of our big majors. This is very different from computer engineering, and we'll go into the differences in a minute. But if you look in this video, one of the senior design projects was to create a virtual reality. So this reality is if you cross the street without looking, and then you're gonna get hit by a car. But there's this thing called the Cube, I believe, and you can make your own virtual reality in there. a lot of computer science has to do with the designing, developing the software and applications of the computers. And then, so some of the areas of study is human computer interaction, knowledge, information, and data, and specific computing. And all this is to say, when you graduate from Virginia Tech, you won't graduate with just a computer science degree. You'll graduate with computer science in focus in systems and networking, for example, which really is good to put on your resume. So while you do learn about all the aspects of computer science, you also get to hone in on the areas that you're most interested in. We also have a 5-year master's track. It's called the Accelerated Master's Track. Most majors have this track as well, to get your master's in 5 years. Although our computer science department likes to emphasize this because not a lot of other universities offer this for this major.
All right, so now moving on to the computer engineering. So as we saw with the computer science, that was a lot of the software components. Now with computer engineering, you're working a lot with the hardware. So what you're trying to do in computer engineering is to make them faster, smaller, more efficient, and just overall better working. So as you guys can see in the pictures in the upper right, so that's like the little component is roughly the size of the quarter. And then the bottom one, I believe that was the nanofiber technology, which was actually designed so when people fall, it can actually like compute, how hard they fall, especially with like the elderly and things like that. So within computer engineering, you're going to be incorporating those systems in your everyday life, as we just said. And then you can specialize whether it's networking, hardware, the computer systems, cybersecurity is one of those big growing things nowadays, and then communications and so much more. Again, it's just one of those like versatile things. It's a growing industry.
Okay, biological systems engineering. So this is my major, and a lot of people get confused because we do have civil and environmental engineering. So they're torn between which one to go into. And my advice would be, if you're more interested in strictly on the environmental impact, then I would focus more on biological systems. We study land and water resources, watersheds, hydrology, environmental health, public health. And you can also go by like pre-med, pre-vet, pre-dental with this major. We study biomolecular, food processing, and this is a very versatile major that you can do a lot of different things with. And this was the major that a lot of students went to before we had the biomedical degree.
Next, what we have is chemical engineering. So this one is one of those like very STEM heavy courses because you'll be applying those principles of chemistry along with biology and physics and math in order to solve the problems. And what you're going to be working on a lot is going to be, of course, chemicals, but that could be a part of like fuel, drugs, food, and other products. Anything that could like require energy is how I like to describe it. One of the special things about this major is that it's during the summer of they actually offer a international opportunity for the lab of your junior year. So I believe you can go to either Denmark or Germany where you can work on, a chemical engineering lab, in their facilities. So it gives you that, opportunity to like, use your major, internationally, which is one of those cool things that I believe, chemical engineering offers.
So material science and engineering is really the study of materials and properties and trying to figure out what materials would be best for what settings and what designs and what projects. So some areas of studies are metals, polymers, ceramics, or nuclear materials. In the top right, we have the foundry where you can go there if campus is open and you can make your own VT coin. This is one of the hands-on laboratories that these majors get to use. And then on the bottom right, there's a picture of a football player. So I think back in a couple of years ago, they had a football game and one of the players injured their arm. And if he had a regular cast, then it'd be considered a weapon on the field. So they came to material science engineers to make something to protect his arm but still be able to play football. So they did that, and he was able to play, and then we won the game. So engineers win football games.
Mining and minerals engineering. So again, we like to say this is the major that makes things go boom, because in the bottom right picture, that's some of the demolition stuff that they do to extract the minerals. But What's really special about mining and minerals is because people don't realize like how crucial this is. You know, your phone has, you know, circuits and components that are made of those, you know, rare earth metals. And, you know, we like to say if you can't grow it or make it in a lab, it has to be mined. And, you know, people don't really realize that. The other thing is that we are actually one of the 12 universities with an accredited mining and minerals department. So it is a smaller group. So it's, you know, it's really cool that, you know, we offer that ability. The fieldwork aspects of the geosciences are combined with engineering and management for the development and recovery of the world's mineral resources. So the other thing is like, you know, you can't just mine all of it. You know, you have to realize, you know, especially with like the evaluation of like the site and the resources, and, you know, have to recognize like how you're going to process this efficiently going through that. The other thing that we like to advertise is there's, because we're only one of the 12 universities, we actually have 100% job placement. So mining and minerals engineering is, you know, a good major right out of college.
Okay, so civil engineering, like before, basically talk about the design, build, and infrastructure of everything. So some areas of emphasis would be construction, land development, transportation, geotechnical and structures. And within this major, most students have to cover around all of these different areas. And so some of the jobs you can get is construction manager, water resources, and transportation engineer. And there's also a lot of design teams that we'll go into later that focus heavily on civil engineering.
So next is construction engineering management. So this is actually my major. So whenever someone asks me like, oh, well, what is a construction engineering manager? I like to say it's kind of like the boss for the site, but what it really is it's a mix of civil engineering, building construction, and business, like all in one major. So, you know, you'll be taking various projects. So I was actually in a course right now, measurements, which is what my civil engineering friends are taking. But then next semester, I'll be taking, you know, construction health and safety, which is one of those management classes. So you'll be taking like a lot of those mixed courses. And that's why like you'll see a lot of those components within your classes. But specifically the job types would include like a project engineer, a field engineer, the field planner, estimator, and things like that. And basically, you're just kind of like the overseer for a construction site.
So aerospace and ocean engineering is another one of our big majors. If you look in the bottom left corner, you see there's a weatherman. I can't remember his name, but he came and to test our wind tunnel to see if he could sustain a level 5 hurricane. And then also at the top, it is a turbine that was donated us from NASA. And then, so with this major, you have the ability to double major in aerospace and ocean engineering by taking a few extra classes because a lot of the classes are very similar to each other. And some of the areas of study are aerodynamics, hydrodynamics, flight mechanics, and things like that.
So next is mechanical engineering. So I like to define this as kind of like a catch-all because this is, you know, we like to say it's a Swiss Army knife of engineering. So you'll be doing a lot of hands-on things, and then you can see from the topics included, there's just so many things, whether you're doing with acoustics and aeronautics, you know, how things travel through fluids and sounds, automotive and biomedical, automotive, as you can see in the right, you know, and then in the upper right-hand corner, you have like the thermo and the combustion. That was the fire department, you know, recognizing like, you know, how to fight fires, you know, from like the sources. So it's one of those very diverse things. And we like to say, you know, it's a great major if you're unsure for the areas that you want to focus on, because it gives you the opportunity to almost go into anything.
Biomedical engineering is our newest major. So you are able to produce interdisciplinary work associated with biological systems, chemistry, and medicine, and all wrapping that up into engineering. So some of the areas of emphasis that we have is biomaterials, neuroengineering, tissue engineering, and things like that. This is one of the majors that's very up and coming, so it's very popular major right now. When you apply for it, it'll be on an interview basis until a couple more years till we build the major up with enough students.
So next is the engineering, science, and mechanics. So this is like the engineers of engineers. So from the video in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see the flying snakes. So the way they work is, they actually kind of, they don't have wings, they can't really fly. But what they do is they kind of compress themselves, spring, and then they move through the sky, angling their bodies. So within engineering, science, and mechanics, you can actually break down those components and see how it works. That's why we call them like the engineers of engineers. The three main pillars include the fluids, solid mechanics and structures, and the dynamics. This is one of those really heavy in biomechanics and physics. So another STEM heavy course. The engineering fundamentals provide a strong mechanical background within any field. So within any aspect of engineering, you'll always have to deal with engineering, science, and mechanics.
Yeah, I also have industrial systems engineering, and this is where you really analyze a lot of human factors and mix them into engineering. So, for example, if you make a chair, you have to think about, okay, what is a good material we can use for this chair? How should we position it so that they can sit up straight, but not too straight that it's uncomfortable? And analyzing these things in order to make your design the best. So, a lot of analyzing, design, implement, and improve integrated work systems. So some areas of emphasis are manufacturing systems, management, and operation.
Again, for more information, you guys can always go to Engineering Explore Virginia Tech. I believe we'll send out a link later. And if you guys have any more questions, you can go there. We will be free later for a little Q&A. So if you guys have anything you'd like to ask us, feel free.
So some of the opportunities that we have available, this is just a small list of the many that Virginia Tech has to offer. So some of the engineering minors that you can have are cybersecurity, green engineering, naval engineering, or biomedical. You can also minor in whatever you want to, but these are just the engineering related minors. We also have study abroad opportunities. Chemical engineering has one built in it, but all the other majors are free to go to partner schools that Virginia Tech has with other locations around the world and other universities around the world. And we also have our own program called RSAP, which is called the Rising Sophomore Abroad Program. And it's for 2 weeks after your freshman year, and you get to visit a bunch of different countries depending on what track you pick. There's a UK, Ireland, and Australia, South America track, a Europe track. There's all different types of things that you can do with that. I went on it my freshman year, and it was a very good experience. We also have undergraduate research. So undergraduate research, most professors do research on campus about pretty much anything. And if you find something that you're interested in, then it just takes emailing the professor and asking if you could, participate in their research. And you may do it for pay or do it for credit or just volunteer just to see if you're interested in that area. And we also have engineering professional societies and organizations. So each major has their own professional society or organization. And then there's more broad ones. Like we have NSBE and we have SWE, and then we have other ones too, sororities and fraternities that are related to engineering as well.
So on this map, what you guys can see is the internship and co-op opportunities. These are just some of them. These are by no means all of them, because if we were to put every single one that the engineers took, we would cover up this entire map and you wouldn't be able to see anything. But some of the big brand names you guys can see, like SpaceX, Tesla, things like that. The internship, they're a one and done deal. So the 8 to 12 weeks in the summer. And then, you can always reapply for various opportunities. And then along with internships are the co-ops. So, that's going kind of like a step further where you would work for like a term or a semester, getting that, real world experience using your major within that aspect.
So some support that we have outside of class, one thing that Virginia Tech is very good on is making sure that all their students have the support that they need in order to be successful moving forward. So some of the career fairs that we have are Engineering Expo, which is the biggest student-ran engineering career fair. And hundreds of companies come and hire our Virginia Tech engineers. We like to say a saying called Hokies hire Hokies. So if you look in the picture, the girl dressed up is actually the student, and the other girl in her maroon and white is the recruiter. So we prepare our students to go on these career fairs and things like that So it's a very good experience. Also, all the other majors have their own career fairs for the most part, and they're mostly in the fall and in the spring. So they're probably 2 per semester. So the students have a chance to talk to their recruiters one-on-one. You can talk about the seed and the step, and then I'll talk about Hypatia and Galileo.
So I did both the seed mentoring program and the step. So I'll talk about step first. So what step was, it was like a summer, it's called the Student Transition Engineering Program. So what it does is it gives you the opportunity to kind of do like a little mock trial before you actually go in to your first semester as a freshman. So during the 7 weeks, you'll take calculus, chemistry, and a foundation of engineering course, and it'll kind of put you in that mindset of what it takes to be an engineer in college. Because, I mean, I was a high school student once, so like I know, oh, I have a test tomorrow. Okay, I'll study, in first period, or like, okay, I'll do the homeworks. If you're studying the day of or the night before for a test in college, like that is not the move. Like you'll learn pretty fast that doesn't work anymore. So along with that, pairing that with the SEED peer mentoring program. So that's once you're already in college and you've had that, first couple weeks under your belt, the SEED mentoring program will pair you up with, I believe it's a junior or senior, basically just an upperclassman in engineering, and they'll kind of help you. So whether it's doing like weekly meetings about, okay, hey, how's your project going? Like, hey, how are you doing, in your classes? Just kind of having that person to check on you. It's really just comforting, not only for you, but, also for the parents too. They like to know that like someone's looking out for their kid while they're out in college. So it's always just good as an outlet for knowledge.
And so we have different living learning communities on campus. So we have a living learning community called Galpatia. So that's Galileo and Hypatia put together. Hypatia is for the girls and Galileo is for the boys. And the dorm is located in Lee Hall. We also have a website that you can look at the dorm and look at all the things that we have to offer. One of the big things is we also have a studio in the dorm. So it's really a maker space that has 3D printers, power tools, and pretty much anything that you want. And you can go down there for free and use the materials that we supply for you to make whatever type of projects that you want. And this is the only access for Lee Hall students. And similar to the peer mentoring program, you also get paired up with a mentor for the first 10 weeks of classes. That's usually a sophomore, sometimes a junior, who also lives in the dorm with you and who was in the program before. So everyone who lives in this dorm is also an engineer. And it's really good because being in a space where everyone's an engineer and taking the same classes as you, personally, when I was in high school, I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I think it's going to be lame. But when I actually lived here for 2 years and enjoyed every bit of it, and it was really helpful and supportive. And I loved the whole community as a whole. And you also take a 1-credit class in the fall that helps prepare you for like how to write a resume, how to write a cover letter, how to properly email a professor, and things that no one's really going to teach you. So it's very important to have these little skills that you learn in this class so it can help you in the future. Usually recruiters say that the students from Hypatia and Galileo have a better resume than the other freshmen and sophomores who just come in from, high school.
So next we have the hands-on minds-on. So what this is this is actually like our design teams. So I'm pretty sure like these aren't even anywhere near what we have, but once you become, a Virginia Tech Hokie, you'll have something called Gobbler Fest where you'll actually be able to like kind of see these things. But we have like design teams that can actually like tailor to your major. So you can do, if you're mechanical engineering, you may want to look into like the Baja or the Formula One team. Aerospace has the rocket teams and stuff like that. But again, just because, oh, I'm a aerospace engineer, but I want to work on the concrete canoe. Oh, well, you have to understand like how fluids, work around, like how air travels over a wing, same as like water travels like around a canoe, there's fluids. So, you're actually able to join any team you want. A lot of kids, I have a lot of friends who do this. What they say is it gives you the opportunity to like not just focus on your classes because, college is kind of stressful sometimes. So by having that opportunity as an outlet to go out and do something fun while like tailored towards, like what you enjoy, it makes it that much better. And then it just kind of makes your college experience as a whole so much better. And it looks good on a resume too, which, always helps.
So these are some of our Virginia Tech rankings. We're ranked 13 best undergraduate programs among the accredited engineering schools nationwide. So if you're looking at other schools, just make sure that they are ABET accredited. That is a big thing that other employers look for when they're showing or they're deciding who they're going to hire. Accredited just means that we're, teaching our students exactly what they need to be taught and making sure they're passing their classes and things like that. So when they go into the workforce, they'll be all right. We're ranked 31 for best graduate school programs as well, ranked number 7 for best producer engineers, ranked 8 for producer women engineers. And also all of our degrees, our engineering degrees, are highly ranked as well. So if you decide to switch to a different engineering major, you're not switching from a good major to a not so great major. You're switching from another good major to a great major as well.
So outcomes. So this is what everyone always asks is, like what's the retention rate? So for the freshmen that continued to a second year, reported for the last 5 years was 90%, which is fairly good. A lot of other colleges may not report that, but after the graduation for the class of 2018, we had 67% were employed and 13% plan to attend graduate school or have accepted admissions. This is just of those that were reported, so there may be more, but we just can't get those numbers if the alumni don't respond back. So that's why it's like that. And the median salary is roughly $65,000 for the class of 2018, which is not bad for right out of college.
And also for if you live in Galpatia, the living learning community I was discussing before, that number, the retention rate goes up to about 98, 99%. So for scholarships for freshmen, they have the Davenport Scholarship, the Pratt Engineering Scholarship, also financial aid, and make sure you do your financial aid early every year. And they also have the Leo A. Pattis Scholarship for Virginia community colleges. Also for freshmen, if you don't get a lot of money your freshman year, it's okay. Also be on the lookout for your upperclassman year, that's when a lot of the money starts coming in. So they'll send out this email around the springtime of your freshman year, and they send it out every year, and it's the College of Engineering Scholarship. So you fill out this one scholarship that has couple points of your information and then this essay that you have to do, and they send those out to the departments, and then you receive department scholarships, and it's all in one application, but you have to do it yourself. It'll go to your email, not your parents' email, so it's on the student to figure it out and apply. And if you want to look at some other scholarships that aren't listed here that you may qualify for, you can look up Virginia Tech Opportunity Scholarships, and it should give you, it should show you a page of a bunch of different scholarships that you can apply for even still being in high school.
The next is the computers. So before we go into this, we always want to say, like, don't go out and buy, like the newest laptop or whatever. So please wait, because the College of Engineering will send out a list of like what we recommend. But the big thing is what you're going to look for is a 2-in-1 laptop. So, this is going to be like a laptop, where you can flip it over right on the screen. So again, check the website for any specifications. And this is because a lot of the teachers won't allow you to use a laptop, in like the regular mode where you're typing on the keyboard, because it could be a distraction to other students. So if you can flip it over right with your, pen, that works great. The other benefit for this is because, whether you're drawing diagrams, writing equations, they allow you to do this. And then just going through that. The other thing that we do recommend is if you get it through the bookstore, Virginia Tech offers like a special discount and warranty. But actually, as an engineer, you have the tech squad. So I had a problem with my laptop once, and I told them, I was like, hey, it's not turning on, it's not working. They'll actually give you like a loaner laptop to use too. So as an engineer, you'll be using your laptop 24/7 every day. Whether, the teachers will give you like a PDF that you download and fill in your notes, or that's how you submit your homework, but you'll always need to have your laptop. So having a solid, good laptop is just one of those things that makes life so much easier.
So why did I come to Virginia Tech for the College of Engineering? Usually in the spring, that would have happened this year. It's called Women's Preview Weekend. So what happens is they invite all the females who were admitted into the College of Engineering and invite them over to sleep over in Lee Hall. And I did that, and it really shocked me and showed me all the different types of things that Virginia Tech had to offer. And it was during the school year, so it wasn't like everyone was putting on this show just because it was orientation time. Like, I got to see how the school ran on an everyday basis, got to talk to some of the students. My host was a freshman, so she got to tell me about her transition and all the stuff. And I really fell in love with the place, and everyone was so nice and inviting. And I really just felt the supportive and inviting, welcoming atmosphere. And in my opinion, if you're going to be somewhere for 4 years, you at least want to feel like you belong there. And I definitely felt that when I stepped foot on campus.
So for me, the reason I came to Virginia Tech, so I'm actually in the Corps of Cadets. So for me, when I was looking, when I was in high school, I straight up Googled like best engineering colleges, senior military academies. So for me, it was the choice between, Texas A&M or Virginia Tech. And then what I did was I toured the universities. And when I came to Virginia Tech, it was just the sense of community was like inspiring. Like it was insane to see like how many people, are like proud to be a Hokie, and stuff like that. And I remember after my visit, like most kids do, is like you go to the bookstore, you get a shirt, you go home. I'm actually from Maryland, so we don't actually have a lot of people from Virginia Tech, I would say, my area. And I remember whenever I would go out wearing a Virginia Tech shirt, whether it would just be like to the grocery store, I'd be walking down the aisle and someone would just yell like, "Let's go." You'd be like, "Hokies." And like, to me, like that was like the best thing ever. Cause I think it shows like how much people really like and enjoy being at Virginia Tech, just for that aspect. And, we're #1 in the nation for dining halls. So, the food's pretty good. So that's always nice.
Yeah, for me, when I tried Virginia Tech, what was really important to me that there were like hands-on opportunities. I really like working with my hands and getting that experience physically, not just learning in a classroom. So the Galopecia program, like we mentioned before, has a makerspace right in the building itself, so you can just stroll out in your pajamas and your closed-toed shoes and go down and work on a project, whether that's for class or for personal stuff. Also got a chance to tour the Wear Lab, which is one of our advanced design labs. So there's so many design teams there doing work that you would be doing in industry. So I'm on a design team now, and we're designing a hybrid vehicle that's semi-autonomous. And that's the same type of thing that all the big companies, GM, Ford, Tesla, are all doing. So it really trains you in the same skills that you're going to be out there in the workforce. You just have like a 2-year head start. And I think that was really great.
Great. So for me, when I started looking at schools my junior year, everyone kept telling me about how engineering nationally is such a weed out program. It's super competitive, and just not a very fun 4-year experience. And so I really wanted to look for a place that was going to support me throughout that process. And when I visited Virginia Tech and I had an opportunity to speak to students and faculty members, it's a place specifically within the College of Engineering, I know for sure, where they want you to succeed. I think the retention rates speak for that. I think the fact that I've never met an unhappy alumni member, the fact that the students want to help each other and help each other succeed. It's a place that actually feels like home. Virginia Tech for sure is my second home, and it's a decision that I have not regretted once.
Yeah. So we'll open up to questions. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put in Q&A. I see one here that says, what is the acceptance rate for the College of Engineering? That's a question for admissions. I don't know if any of the other panelists have a percentage answer they know.
It also depends on like the year, because that dictates like how many people apply. There's a lot of factors, so it's really hard to give like a specific number. But again, as Justin said, you can always just go to like the admissions and they can kind of give you a little bit more explanation.
Yeah.
And also going off of that, because we did change our admissions format this year, including early decision, early action, and regular decision. The numbers are different than they would have been in the past year. So admissions is still compiling all of that and hoping to get it out to everyone as soon as possible.
And just on the question of admissions and whatnot, the only way you're not going to get into Virginia Tech is if you don't apply at all. So I would definitely, it's a great opportunity. It's a great chance to take. I would definitely apply to Virginia Tech, and
So I see another question here that I want to address, and it's how often do engineering students participate in study abroad programs? So I think we actually have a pretty high rate of study abroad participation for the Virginia Tech College of Engineering. So one, I know that they were mentioning earlier our RSAP program. So that's our Rising Sophomore Abroad program, where you can spend a few weeks in the summer on one of, I think, 9 different tracks that we have now. So I personally did that program, and I was in Europe for the summer, specifically in Italy, and that was really, really cool. And then my sophomore year, through my engineering program in BSc, I actually got to do an internship abroad in China, outside of Shanghai for 2 months. So that was a really, really cool experience. And it's definitely a possibility within the world of engineering. Our global education office is absolutely phenomenal. So if it's something you're interested in, it's definitely an option.
All right, so we have a question. So it says, how hard is the ROTC program? So it's not easy, but it's definitely doable. One of the things that you'll actually have your freshman year is called ECQ, or Evening Call to Quarters. And what that is basically like a study hall. So from 7 o'clock, so from 7 p.m. till 11 o'clock at night, you'll actually have that mandatory study time. And as a freshman, you have to go to that, whether you're in your room studying or you're in the library. So they actually have that broken down time, which is pretty nice. One of the downsides of being in the Corps that I'd say is like, it's very hard to just go down the hallway, knock on someone's door and be like, hey, are you doing like the physics 2 homework? Because in the Corps, there's not necessarily a lot of STEM majors, whereas like Galileo and Lee, has a huge opportunity for them. So that's like why I really try to push the Galileo and Hypatia if you can. But in the Corps, so you can always talk to upperclassmen, as a freshman, freshmen are kind of scared of upperclassmen in the Corps. But if you can find those people in that major, they're always willing to help you. And by having that mandatory study time definitely helps. But yeah.
I see a question talking about the different clubs that we have, and specifically for electrical or computer science. So if you Google Gobbler Connect, then it has a list of all of our different majors and stuff that different clubs that we have, whether it be engineering related or not. And then also if you Google the Student Engineering Council, so it's abbreviated SEC organizations, then it'll show you the engineering related organizations that we have on campus, and then you'll be able to filter throughout that list to see which one looks good to you. I believe they also have design teams on that webpage as well.
Galileo is a living learning community. So in order to be that, you got to actually be in Lee. So you're not allowed to be in the Galileo program. So what I did, because I wasn't allowed to be in the Galileo program, I did the seed mentoring, which doesn't give you like all the perks of being in Galileo, because you won't have access to like the laser cutter and the 3D printer that Lee does, but it will still give you a mentor, which helps a lot. And, just kind of like that weekly check-in is really good. But no, you're not allowed to do the living learning community.
Another question that I see is, do you find it hard to reach out or make friends in other majors that if you live in an LLC? No, just because you live in the learning living community does not mean that you have to like be friends with just those people. I have friends in all different types of majors, and the classes that you take that aren't engineering specific is also where you meet a lot of the other people that are in different majors. Also going to the different events on campus, all the different clubs you meet like that aren't engineering related, you meet all different types of people. And so you're not only restricted to stay like in your dorm, you can go out and meet other people, and it's highly encouraged. It's just really good to live and lead just so you have that community of engineers. So when it comes time for academics and support, you have someone who can easily help you with that.
Yeah, going off of what Jessica said, clubs and extracurricular activities are definitely the easiest way to make friends outside of engineering. I know Greek life personally is an option that a lot of people like. I'm personally in a sorority, and I absolutely love it. That's definitely an option for engineers as well. Um, and another question I wanted to address on here was someone asked, is it realistic for people to graduate in 4 years, or do many take 5? So we also answered this briefly in the answered question section, but the average time to graduate for the College of Engineering is 4.2 years, but that's the average for the entire college, which includes our co-op opportunities or semester abroads that might add time to your overall graduation. So it definitely is possible to graduate in 4 years. People do it all the time. I understand that we have a lot of CTech Squared participants on here who are doing it this summer. That was a program that I actually did the summer in between my junior and senior year of high school. And it was absolutely fantastic. I can't speak highly enough about the program. And it was one of the main reasons that I actually chose Virginia Tech. So I wanted to give all of you guys a quick shout out. And if you have any questions about that, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Circling back to co-ops really quick. I did a co-op for a year, so I'm on a 5-year graduation track, but I'm still only taking 4 years worth of classes. I'm paying 4 years worth of tuition, and then minus all the money that they pay you when you're on co-op. So taking a co-op can be a really great opportunity. It's something I highly recommend, but it does add on to your graduation date, and whether that's the right choice for you, really, you can talk to your advisors, talk to your mentors and whatnot, but you're not paying more tuition if you take another year on co-op.
Another question that I see is, how do AP and IB classes compare to freshman year classes in terms of academic challenge? So I took AP classes. I wasn't offered IB classes at my at my high school. So what I have to say about that, it really depends on how you were taught and like how seriously you took the class, because everybody was in high school once, and we all know in high school you finesse, and in college, like, you cannot finesse college. Like, it's just how it is. So I would say that if you come in with AP or IB credit, you can either do one or two things if you take the credit. So for example, if I came in with Calc 1 credit, I can skip and go ahead and take Calc 2 in the fall instead of Calc 1 like everyone else. And you have usually a month before you can decide whether you want to drop a class. And you can go in there and say, okay, this is really hard. I want to go back to Calc 1 and go back to Calc 1, no problem. Or you can take it and then go through, or you can go back and you can say, okay, I want a fresh start. And you can take Calc 1. And if you realize, okay, I already know this stuff, then you can go ahead and do Calc 2, if that makes sense. So either way, if you come in with credit, like, you won't be behind and stuff.
We have another question about double majors and double minors for engineers. So double majoring in engineering is commonly reserved only for like close majors like aerospace and ocean, or electrical and computer. Beyond that, if you want to do a double major in something that's not as closely related, usually we'll add some more time. And then adding a minor is very common among engineering students, especially if you come in with credit. You can definitely add a minor and still graduate within 4 years. I will say to that situations vary widely from person to person. So I definitely come here, get a semester under your belt, and then start talking to your advisors, talking to upperclassmen about whether adding a major, adding a minor, or just having concentration is the right move for you.
And also adding on to what Justin just said, certain engineering majors line up very closely with a lot of the engineering minors. So I know if you set your classes up right, I know for myself, I'm a biological systems engineering major, but in order to get my minor in biomedical engineering, I only have to take 1 or 2 additional classes. The same goes, I think, for computer science and our cybersecurity minor. If you set it up correctly, some of the programs have minors almost built into them if you set your classes up correctly. But again, talk to your advisors. They're super helpful.
I also want to throw another note that having a minor isn't the only way to prove to like recruiters that you specialize in the area. Like for me example, mechanical engineering, we don't have a specific automotive minor or anything like that. But there's plenty of automotive classes that we can take as part of our technical electives that we're required to. So you can definitely say a concentration in automotive. You can just tell the recruiters what classes they are. And usually they've gone to Virginia Tech, they've taken the same classes that you did, so they'll know exactly what you're talking about. So don't feel pressure that like you have to have like the minor sticker on your resume. You can just take the classes or have the design team experience to show that off.
Okay, I'm gonna answer like, well, I'll answer one question and then I'll go to the other question, which we all will answer. But two questions ask the same thing, asking, do we have a 5-year bachelor master's track? And the answer is yes. The majority of the majors, to my knowledge, have that as an option, and you won't be able to declare that until the end of your junior year, I believe. But they'll tell you about this your sophomore year, saying that you have the ability to do this. So yes, most of our majors, if not all of them, have that option. And then the other question is, where are we all from? So I'm an out-of-state student. I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina.
I'm from Arlington, Virginia, up in Northern Virginia.
I'm from Northern Virginia as well, in Alexandria.
I'm from Frederick, Maryland.
And just to say, like, most of our students, I would say it's about 50-50 about people who are from Virginia and then people who are either out of state or international. So there's a lot of different types of people that you'll meet coming to our school.
Yeah, the school itself is about 70-30 for in-state versus out-of-state because it is an in-state school for Virginia. But the College of Engineering is definitely more 50-50, like Jessica said.
If someone asked if you're allowed to have 3D printers in your dorms, that's definitely an option. As long as it's not a fire hazard, it should be fine.
Like you say, yeah, I had a 3D printer in my room, and I was in the Corps, and they didn't mind. So yeah. But the one cool thing about Virginia Tech is actually if you go to the library, you're actually able to 3D print for free. So, you know, if you want to save money and like, you know, save the hassle of bringing your own, you can always just go to the library and you can just print for free.
Their 3D printers are also like high spec. Like I printed design team parts that like we tested at NASA, printed in the library, printed for free. So these are good ones. So we have a question about if you go to a more academically rigorous school, does admissions take that into account? That's definitely something best sent to admissions. To my knowledge, like we mentioned before, they do take into account the school that you went to, and most of them know like about the area that you're from, so they'll take that into account as well. But yeah, admissions is pretty good at finding the potential and not just looking at just raw numbers. You're not just a number to Virginia Tech admissions. They really want to learn about you holistically as a person.
Another question says, what are some clubs or extracurriculars that have helped you throughout college? And for clubs, I would say NSBE, which is the National Society of Black Engineers. So I'm on the executive board for that. And so that allowed me to connect to a lot of engineers who could resonate with me and look like me. And we also do different outreach activities because I like to work with youth and things like that. So I got to do that through that organization. And then SEED, which is it's not a club or extracurricular, but SEED is the Center of Enhancement Engineering Diversity. So that whole organization, and Galileo and Hypatia. So Galpatia also helped me as a whole and helped me get through my freshman year. I'm still a part of that community today.
Jumping off Galpatia, I was actually on a design team my freshman year that was specifically Galpatia called Team Astra. And that organization has grown into a larger organization called Archimedes that has 3 design teams specifically targeted at freshmen. And our belief is kind of like, if you give freshmen the resources, they have the potential to compete alongside senior design teams and design teams from all across the country. So I had the really great opportunity of being able to go to the NASA Joplin Space Center in Houston and actually test a tool that astronauts would use on a spacewalk, like orbiting an asteroid. So it's a really great experience that I had freshman year, and definitely shows both Virginia Tech and Galpatia's commitment to the freshman experience and giving you the resources to succeed. I think that just really embodies Virginia Tech. If you ask for help, if you seek the resources, there will be people who like more than enthusiastically want to help you and see you succeed. And an anecdote, I actually had, one of my friend's parents worked at NASA Langley, and we needed this very advanced piece of material cut that we couldn't do on campus. And he got some time on the NASA water jet, and he cut it for us and shipped it to us free of charge. And I said, thank you so much. And he said, Hokies help Hokies. I think that's just a really great story, and I really appreciate him for that.
What does an average day as an engineering student look like at Virginia Tech? Just quickly. So for me personally, I have never been a morning person. It's something I struggle with and I am working on actively. But so for me, that means I usually try my hardest. It's not always possible, but I try to schedule my classes for later in the afternoon. So I'll get lunch on campus. I know we've mentioned it once or twice, but I'm a junior who lives off campus, or was, I'm home now, but I was living off campus and still had a meal plan. Food is amazing. And then I would go to my classes and usually go to the library afterwards. I have to be in like a focused study environment for me to be productive. So I would go to the library, which is open like 24 hours, 6 days a week. So Newman Library is my home, and get with a bunch of people and work in a group for people in my classes, and then grab dinner on campus, and then go back to my apartment and start over, I guess. Oh, and then a couple of days a week, I did do research for a professor. So sometimes that date changes slightly if I'm gonna go to his lab and do that.
Yeah. I think one thing that I noticed between college and high school is that schedules between students look a lot more different student to student. High school, kind of, you wake up at that same ungodly hour in the morning, and you go to school for your 7 hours, or it's been so long for me. But then like you go home and do your homework, and then you go to sleep and you start over again. In college, there's a lot more dynamic shift. Classes start at different times of the day. Your schedule will vary. It's not just like one class after another, after another, after another. Another thing you'll notice is that like in college for engineering, you take between maybe 15 and 18 credit hours of class a week. That means you're in class for like 15 to 18 hours, which is like nothing compared to high school. So all the extra free time really is up to you. So you can spend that time studying, extracurriculars, getting a job on campus. There's a lot of stuff that you can do, but that also comes with the responsibility of time management. So once you figure that out, you'll realize that like even as an engineer, you can do a lot of other things. So that's really one of the important skills that we want to highlight is time management.
Also, going along with time management, I was one of those people who like worked all the time. Like throughout high school, I had like 2 jobs. So I'd do high school work, then homework, and repeat. So I was so in that mindset. So I got to college thinking like, okay, I need to have a job like already and stuff. I just recommend to wait at least till second semester to already get a job on campus or off campus, just to get yourself acclimated to how college is going to work before you start piling on all these different responsibilities along with what you already have to do, which is your academics.
And a good general rule of thumb is for each credit hour that you take, that you're in class, you should expect around 2 to 3 hours out of class. So if you're taking a 3-credit course, which is the average for most engineering courses, you should expect somewhere between 6 and 9 hours of work for that class outside of the classroom. So that's definitely something to consider when you are building your schedule. If it's difficult to be in Greek life as an engineer, I personally know tons of people who are in Greek life and engineering majors. And there's also lots of different levels of Greek life. So we have professional fraternities and sororities, and ones that are geared more towards engineering specifically. And then we also have social sororities, which are the ones that you would normally think of, social fraternity sororities. And like any extracurricular, it's possible. You just have to stay on top of what you have to do.
If you haven't applied already and are going to be, if you're like a junior in between your senior year, and I know it's a tough time right now, but I would really just take time to work on your essays. If you're already involved in some type of volunteer experience, definitely highlight on that and highlight your passion with doing that, because our school is all about ut prosum, which means that I may serve. And I wrote a lot about that in my essay, so I'd recommend doing that. And then also just making sure you have all the things you have together. And then um, one piece of advice that I would say if you're coming next year and saying that if we were to be in person, is just to take advantage of that time. Also work on your time management, and it should be a smooth transition.
Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will put this presentation online on our VTC YouTube page. So if you would like to watch it back later, we'll also post the PowerPoint and the Q&A along with it, so you have access to that. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and thanks to the student panel. I appreciate your time, and thank you guys so much, and go Hokies.
Go Hokies. Stay safe, everyone.
Bye.